Cindy, and I'm here together with Tamalla, and we are together, two psychics, no limits. And first of all, we would like to wish you all the best for 2019. We hope you have had a very nice Christmas, enjoyed your time together with the family, had very nice dishes to eat, and a lot of presents. Uh, do you want to say something about your Christmas?
I got amazing stuff for Christmas, and I was
Really?
actually able to use. I got a lot of stuff for my business, and so I've already been able to use some of it, so I'm thrilled.
No,
Yeah.
nice.
Yay!
Woohoo! So
Yeah.
your year 2019 started very well.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Super.
What about you?
My Christmas
Yes.
was quite quiet actually. I did cook for my family on the second day of Christmas, and my niece was helping me with making the soup. And not that she ate anything of it. Most likely it was a little bit too healthy, so she didn't take it. But for the rest, it was nice and quiet.
Good.
Yeah, I like that. We never really celebrated Christmas. We don't have a tree. We don't do any presents. We never actually did presents.
Wow.
Yeah. So for us, Christmas is Christmas, you know.
Yeah.
Just
Just
normal
a day.
days. Sorry?
Just a day.
Yeah, exactly. Just a day. Yeah. No, but for the rest, it was good.
Good.
Yeah. Before we start to talk about suicide and murder, we would like to introduce ourselves first. So my name is Cindy, and I am an energetic stepping and wholeness counselor. I work together with spirit, mainly with my own spirit team. They are called Carla, and they are very much focused on the mental health. And they would like to bring you back into balance emotionally and mentally. And I do this by trans-channeling them. I also trans-channel famous female celebrities who passed away, such as Marilyn Monroe, Ava Gardner, Elizabeth Taylor, Judy Garland, but also goddesses, and they have a completely different energy. And the goddesses are Isis, Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, and besides trans-channeling and working together with spirits, I also do energetic work, and I do that through sound healing. And I use my 4 lovely crystals, and the method itself is called Sacred Crystal Sound Treatments. And yes, that's what I do. I love it.
You're really good at it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It is very, whenever I have, every single person is so different. Each body is so different, and I can really notice that when I do the sound healing, because everybody has a different experience, and it is always so nice to hear how my clients have experienced it, what they have felt, and I actually had a client yesterday, and she has anxiety and depression, and that came out from the work that she did. And so I will be treating her. I did the first session yesterday, and she said, I'm walking around with so many thoughts. She's like, there's so much in my head, and I cannot stop it. So when I did the sound treatment, so the first thing is actually, well, the first main point of this treatment is to give you a very deep relaxed feeling, that your body is completely relaxed. And her body was indeed very relaxed, but the thoughts were coming up. She said, like, I can't cope with the thoughts that are coming through now. And I said, just let them go, because they want to leave. Your thoughts want to leave. They want to get out of your head. Right. Don't try to grasp, don't try to hold on to them. They want to leave your system, so let them go. And then we spent some time talking, and I asked her after a while, like, how does your body feel, and how are the thoughts in your head? And she said, my body is completely relaxed and my head is quiet.
Wow.
She said it is empty. And I said, "That's fantastic. It's fantastic." So we will do more treatments and then see how that will work out, because that is, I would like to bring her back into balance. She's out of balance, and I would like to bring her back into.
That's so wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm super happy, after each treatment, when my clients were sharing what happened and they noticed the difference before and even during the treatment, I'm more like, oh, that is so nice to hear that there's a change, And during the sound treatment, your own guardian angels and your own spirits, your helpers, they are there to guide you, to guide the energy, how they need to flow and so on. So you're not doing this alone.
Yeah,
You're doing it together with your team.
that's wonderful.
Thank you. Tamalla, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I am Tamalla and I. I am your empowerment priestess. And I also am a trance channeler and a regular channeler, which means sometimes I leave my body and sometimes I stay in my body. So I do both of those. I primarily work with a group of beings called Zed who live on the edges of expansiveness, and they're here to help us with the transition of the earth and the people on the earth from 3D, 4D into 5D. And they're teaching a course called Living a Congruent Life, and we meet every month, and they teach a class and answer questions, things like that. I also am an Akashic Records clearer, and I help remove past life and present life blocks and restrictions for people. I also teach a manifesting mastermind, which is wonderful. It helps people align with their soul purpose and with the way that they are designed to manifest and create in this world, which is really super powerful work. And I'm doing for 2019, I opened up some new sessions, and one of them is called an awareness session. And I had one last night, and it was amazing. They are about an hour and a half long, and it is where I pull out all my cards. We call in all of the helpers. I work with my high council, but also the Council of Light, and I call in their light beings, their spirit helpers, higher self, the oversouls, all of that. Everybody's in the room, and I have all these decks of cards that I use, and I pull them out depending on what our question is and which one wants to participate, right, in the awareness. And it ends up being this is the predominant issue that you're moving into the year with, and this is how you can change that, and these are the supports that you have to change that, and here are the affirmations you can use to change that, and here are the beings of light who are able to help you with that. And it is miraculous. It was like, oh my gosh, it was just so spot on, so amazing, so just rock and roll. Like she left the session with like, oh my God, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do for 2019 now.
Oh, super.
And so if you're interested in that, send me an email at info@yourownsoul.com. Because I'm only doing that in limited, I only have time to do, limited ones of those, since they're an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours long. Okay. So send me an email.
Yes, please do so. It sounds super nice.
Amazing. Amazing.
And what kind of cards do you use? Do you use tarot cards, or are these special cards?
I have every card known to man, I think. I have like 30 decks of different cards. Some are tarot cards, some are gemstone cards, some are fairy cards and angel cards and Isis cards and divine feminine cards and law of attraction cards and just like
Anything.
yeah, and what I do is I have them all there and say, okay, who wants to play? And then I pull out the group that, like, there were 12 decks that wanted to play with her session last night. And then it was like, okay, the first question is, what are we dealing with? What's the first thing that we need to address? And then I said, okay, who's that? And then, the surrender cards came up. And then it was, okay, and then, shuffle the cards and ask the question, okay, what is it that we're surrendering? And it was just tons of information that's like, okay, what's going to support her in surrendering this? Who wants to do that? And it was just amazing how everything was so supportive. Like, even though I was using 12 different decks, I don't know that I used them all. I think I used only like 8 of them. But each time I asked a question, and it was either I asked the question and then said which deck, or the deck said, I'm next. And I said, okay, what's the question? Right? But the entire spread ended up being completely synchronistic. I mean, it literally told the story of this is what you're dealing with. This is how to fix it. This is support. This is the support. These are the things to watch out for. This is the things that you can do to correct it when you get off track. I mean, it was just, it's phenomenal.
Wow.
It's my favorite card reading that I've ever done.
Yeah. Super. I just would like to say that I'm doing the manifestation course that you are giving, and I'm super duper happy with it.
Yay!
I learned so much about myself. So when you said it's an amazing course, I can acknowledge it is.
It's wonderful, and we've got our class this Sunday too. We meet once a month too. There's online content. There's lots of channeled information that you get, and then we have once a month meetings too. So, and you're already seeing changes, right? You're seeing changes towards your intentions, and you've only been this month 2?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm super surprised because when I'm going to for example, when I would like to get something that I really would like to have, and then I just ask, can I have a discount on it? And I go to a shop, and then exactly that product that I want to have is on discount. I'm like, awesome, It is not that I'm going to wish myself a home, but it is like a small thing, It is like a small thing where you can have like a direct answer to it if you're able to have it or not. So I'm doing this with almost everything now. Like if I would like to have something, then I just ask. I would say like, I would like to have this, and I would like to have a discount on it. And it is like step by step that I'm. Yeah.
And it's awesome.
But
it goes through 7 different polarity spectrums, where you are on the polarity, where you're designed to be, where you're showing up, so that you know how to tweak your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your speech, right? It helps you figure out how to get so that you can get in alignment. Really super effective.
Yeah, it is. In one hand side, it is also still that because what you're saying, like there are like 7 spectrums that you give blueprint on, right? On how your soul, at least in my case, it will be my soul, how it is being designed. But because of the way how I've been growing up and how people have been, advising me at school how to be or to behave, I went on 5 of those spectrums to the opposite of what I actually am designed for. So this one hand side a confirmation that I always felt this is not really me and it doesn't work for me, but now I know why it is, because I'm not designed in a way how I've been guided to do something. But at the other hand side, it takes some time to actually find your way into how you are designed, because it is something that I've not been working with. I'm not conscious of it. Right. And it's like unlearning the things that I have been learning.
Yeah. And that's why it's 6 months.
Yeah.
Because you're learning the vocabulary, you're learning how it works, you're seeing how it shows up in your life. You're going, oh, I see how that happens. How can I change that? How can I not do that anymore and do this? And it's all practice, right? The whole time is just practice and really putting it in place. And then, each month when we do our classes, we talk about new things too. So it's amazing and powerful. So email me if you want information on that.
Yeah, and you're also
Only open that up like 3 times a year.
oh yeah, because it takes 6 months. So you do like one class for the full 6 months, and then you're going to open it for the next one.
Well, usually I do one. I'll do the first 6 months of the year, then the second 6 months of the year, and then usually one in the middle. But like your class graduates July 1st, I think. So I may start another class in maybe March or April. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But then the next one wouldn't start until July or August.
Yeah. Oh, super.
Yeah.
And I just want to say as well that when you're doing this course, you're obliged to do your homework. There's really no escape, because Tamalla is going to check on you twice a week.
The system checks on you too. The computer system, because it's online content, and it'll send you an email and say, hey, you've got new content that's been released.
Yes, so there's no reason, there's no excuse like, oh, I did not see the email, or there's like follow up, and it really also gives the motivation to actually act on it.
Yeah. Well, and we've got the Facebook group too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Lots of support, and everybody supports each other in there.
Yeah, it's super nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. So are you ready to get into the heavy stuff?
Yep.
All right, you go first.
Okay, so before I start, I just want to talk about a movie. It's called The Bird Box Movie. I saw it over Christmas with my sister, because my sister said, oh, I've read so many good reviews on this movie, about this movie. Do you want to watch it? And it's a movie, I think it just released a few weeks ago. And it's with Sandra Bullock. And in this movie, there is, so people on Earth, suddenly they have to deal with some kind of like a darkness, like a dark force that comes over and it chases people in a way, as in when you look at it, you want to either commit suicide or kill somebody. And when you would like to survive, the only thing is to wear a blindfold. So you're going through life wearing a blindfold every single time when you are going outside. And I really like Sandra Bullock. She's a very good actress. Regarding the movie itself, there's not too much content. It is, I would not actually. I would not have seen the movie when my sister would not have asked, do you want to? And I was super surprised, because when I saw it, I think a few days later on a news channel, there was something mentioned about this movie, because apparently a lot of people are not implementing, but they are actually copying things from the movie into their own lives, and they put like a homemade video on internet. So there was a guy who was driving with a blindfold. There was somebody in a garden with a blindfold and was trying to look for something, and he said like, oh, I need to listen for the birds, and there was another sound, and he completely freaked out, and he just, because it is something that he did not see or hear coming. So his first reaction was like run away, but because of his blindfold, he bumped into a parked car, So for me, it was super interesting to actually see how much a movie has influenced, not that people, I think, maybe are conscious of it, but there's like unconsciously it has an influence on people. by acting these kind of things, by saying, oh, I need to, it is a great movie, I would like to act out as well. I'm running from some kind of a dark force, and I have to live life through a blindfold. And I was amazed, because I think that even the producer of the movie had to have some kind of like a statement saying, please do not copy anything that is shown in this movie. Do not bring this into your real life. It is something unconscious. And I think that people might not realize that you're not only harming yourself when it goes wrong. So in these kind of cases, the videos, they were, I think, are all okay. But there might be a risk that you might harm yourself or somebody else. And I find the influence on these kind of movies, even when people are not conscious of it, how that impacts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I understand now as well what Marilyn has been saying all the time when she says what you're seeing on the screen is not real. But subconsciously or unconsciously, people are picking it up.
Right. They're incorporating it into their experience.
Yes.
Well, and you had said too that what people don't realize is that everybody who's unconscious is walking around with blindfolds.
Yes, that is what I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that the darkness is what the majority of people already are, they've already got their blinders on because they're not hiding from the darkness, they're hiding from the light.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for bringing it up. That you actually don't have to wear a real blindfold in front of your eyes to actually copy the movie, because we are already blindfolded. It is that your mind is not open enough to actually experience. It is also not possible, right, to experience all what is out there. But when you grow up for example, in a certain neighborhood or in a certain area, and you move out of that neighborhood into a new neighborhood, you might be surprised, saying like, oh my gosh, I did not know that it existed. Or, oh my gosh, the people here are so different. So in that way, you can also say it is some kind of blindfold that you had in the first area or the neighborhood that you were living in.
Right.
And then in that kind of perspective, it is for me that I translate it to myself as in, we are already blindfolded, because we already, we are up in our minds. We are not in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
We are judging. We are trying to convince ourselves for something it is not true, or we're teaching stuff that is completely out of alignment with who we are. It is based on old truth, or yeah. So for me, that I was surprised in that sense that this movie had such an impact on people. And on the other hand side, I was like, we are already blindfolded, so why do you want to wear a real blindfold in front of your eyes?
Exactly.
But that is the unconscious part, right? People are not conscious of that we are actually walking around with a blindfold.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the sad part, right? It's the blind putting on blindfolds.
Yeah. Yeah. And you cannot, that is also one thing that I actually would like to say. We cannot be mad about people who actually made those home videos because they are not aware.
Right.
We cannot, we can all shake our heads saying like, why would you, make movie or homemade food video like this? It is not safe for yourself or somebody else. But those people are not aware. They're not conscious. Yeah, I know that you have not seen it, so that's what I would like to share about the Bird Box, because before we actually went for the Christmas break, we already touched base about suicide and murder in our last video, and then this Bird Box movie came out, and like, oh, that is a nice, thing that we can maybe wave in
Mm-hmm.
into this conversation.
Yep. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't plan to see it. So
No, you're not missing anything.
good to know.
The content wise, it is, oh, that's why I also told you after 5 minutes I was actually already bored, because the movie itself, for me, it has not, there's no content.
Right.
For me, it was the more interesting part, that actually people were reacting on a movie like this.
Right.
Incorporate things from the movie in their own lives and play it out for real because they think it is real.
Yeah. Or they want to imagine that it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Escapism, escape from their life. Oh, let's escape my shitty life so I can go pretend like I have to wear a blindfold so I don't have terrible things happen. That's pretty bad.
It is. That actually reminds me of, I visit my grandma. I see her maybe, well, actually, I don't really see her that often.
Mm-hmm.
So I visited her over Christmas, or was the 1st of Jan, doesn't really matter. I saw her and she had a hearing device. And I did not know she had two hearing devices. So I asked her, Grandma, do you have a hearing device? And then it was quiet. And then she was like, what did you say? And I said, do you have a hearing device? Yeah. She said, but I only wear it in this ear. I refuse to wear it in the second ear as well. And she said, the volume in this hearing device is not so high. I prefer to put it on a low volume. And then I asked her, why did you choose to put it on a low volume and refuse to wear the second hearing device? And then she said, well, one of my friends who also had a hearing device but refused to wear both, she said, she did it out of the reason, whatever I do not hear, I cannot be responsible for. So I just, at that moment, my jaw just dropped and I just wanted to slam my head on the table. And I said to my grandma, that is a very easy way out.
Yeah. Well.
Not wanting to hear what what's
Mm-hmm.
being said. It is very easy what you're saying, like escape.
Yep.
I don't hear it, so it's not my responsibility.
Yeah. Well, and that's a lot of what the people on our planet have been doing for ages. It's not my job, not my responsibility. Somebody else is to blame for it.
Yeah.
Poor me, I'm pitiful. Everybody should take care of me, right?
Yeah.
None of those things are empowered.
Mm-mm.
They're a total abdication of our own empowerment and our own personal responsibility and personal accountability for taking care of our own situations and for creating the kind of life we want to have.
Mm-mm.
If it's always somebody else's fault or it's always somebody else's blessing, where's your own power in that? You don't have any.
Yeah, and these are also like the third dimensional, reactions. It is like that you actually react on an action, or you act on a reaction. Or blaming somebody else, not wanting to hear what's being said, not wanting to see what is actually in front of your eyes. And this is all what we are actually here for, at least that's what I think. Because we are shifting to a new dimension. We have already started a new paradigm. It is not longer possible anymore to say, well, it is you whose fault.
Right.
We cannot blame anybody else anymore, because now we need to actually go within and resolve what's there.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. What a movie can do, right? It brings
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just super surprised when how people reacted on the movie. But it is a movie that has been seen, I think, already like millions of times.
Well, it's crazy. You would think if people would put that effort into, taking responsibility for their lives, the whole world would be different.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then regarding the escaping that you said, like as in saying, I escape and I prefer to wear a real blindfold in front of my eyes. That is something as well that Elizabeth Taylor and Eva Gardner would like to make clear. They both said we um, we decided to in both of their cases they decided to drink, so they decided to grab a bottle of alcohol to escape from what they were actually feeling.
Mm-hmm.
They were choosing something that was not beneficial in the long term, and that's why they are also here saying, please make a different decision because of the paradigm and the shift that we're going through. Alcohol is not going to help. Well, it never really helps, but it is not an option anymore.
Right.
Also.
Right. Right. If you want to have a drink to just, have a drink, that's fine. But if you're using a drink to medicate yourself to be able to live your life, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to help you change your life.
No.
It's just adding another problem to your already loads of problems.
Yeah. And then you're actually putting a blindfold in front of your eyes. Yep. Also. Yeah. Because maybe people are aware. Well, Eva actually was aware why she was drinking. She said that, I was insecure and she was drinking because she wanted to be accepted. So she knew the reason why she would be drinking. So why she was drinking. Right. She still went for that option. Maybe it was easier than actually look into herself, or maybe she was not even aware that by looking within yourself and clear the insecurity that she had and go for something else, for a different lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say about the movie.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
As Forrest Gump would say.
Sorry, who would say that?
Forrest Gump.
Oh, yeah. That's an old movie.
Yep. And that's all I have to say about that.
Very good. Thank you. I hope I make sense today, because I don't know.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, because I feel like I am like all over the place, totally not focused.
Well, a lot of that is with the new moon, the solar eclipse, everything's shifting. And here's the thing: I keep taking my glasses off because I've got lights in my face, and it's like too much. It's overstimulating. So, but everything is going on right now, and a lot of 4D stuff is being brought up. And when I say 4D, the way I talk about that, that means our thoughts and our emotions. And what's happening is, as stuff's moving from 3D, from our body, and it's trying to leave our experience, it goes through our emotions, and which are in between 3D and 4D. They're the bridge between the two, and then into 4D, which is our thoughts. And we're having all of these things that are leaving the cells of our body. Okay, it may be too woo-woo for some of you, so brace yourselves. But that's what happens. We take things into our experience, into our body, we buy into them, we believe them, and they become part of our molecular structure, right? And we pass them down to our children, or we get them from our parents and our grandparents, right?
Yeah. That's
really true. And so what's happening now is, because of this mass planetary up-leveling that's happening with the earth and the people that are on the earth, part of that process is we have to get rid of all that shit that's in our body. Well, when it's coming out of our body, it goes into our emotions. So that means we're feeling things that we thought we'd already dealt with. We're feeling things that maybe aren't ours. We're feeling things that are they seem very present and big, and they're coming out of nowhere. It's because they're these little leftover pieces that are in our bodies, that are in our DNA, and they have to be felt in order to be released. Because what happens is we feel them and we acknowledge them, and we can say, okay, I don't need you anymore, and let them go. And it's the same for our thoughts. Same thing happens for our thoughts. I've been, last night I slept okay, but the 2 nights before that, I literally was awake all night, tossing and turning in my bed, arguing with people about integrity,
Wow.
like for 8 hours, having conversations with people who were in different locations. And I was about integrity, right? And having the same conversation over and over and over and over and over. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't need to be doing this. I've already dealt with this before. Other people's integrity doesn't have anything to do with me,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I'm a divine truth soul, divine truth and self-expression, which means freaking integrity, right? You have to say the truth. You have to do what you say. You have to follow what it is that you put out, right? And so literally that's one of the things that I was processing. And the only way I could do that was in putting myself into those situations where I'm having those conversations with people and calling them on their lack of integrity, and then saying, no, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. It's not going to happen.
Mm.
And not in an angry way, but in a
I'm done.
Yeah, not happening, not for me, not going to be here for me. And so once I did, now it took 2 nights for me to get through that, but I got through it.
Yeah.
Some things are going to be more difficult than others, and it all depends on how much 3D work you've already done. You know, if you've already had coaching around it, or counseling around it, or therapy around it, or shadow work around it, right? Then it's going to be less traumatic or dramatic, but it's still stuff that's got to leave. Because when we get into 5D, we can't bring the lower vibrational shit with us.
Yeah.
It can't live there. And if we're weighed down by fourth dimensional stuff, we can't get there. And so that's basically my interpretation of why we're so emotional and all of these like random, thoughts and emotions are being experienced right now.
Mm-hmm. I was thank you for explaining that. Because I actually also asked you what's going on, because when I got back from my Christmas break and I got home, I plugged in my my device for the Wi-Fi, and I saw it like blinking from green to red, and I was like, what the F is going on? Mm-hmm. Did I cut down my wireless? I was starting to sweat. I started to curse. I was not really curse, but I was like shouting, like, why did I do this? Blah, blah, blah. And then I just left, after trying maybe 10 times, the red light was still there. And I was like, what's going on? I was upset. I left the plug into the thing. I walked away, came back 15 minutes later, and then I saw that everything was okay. I'm like, how does this happen? Why is this? What's going on? And then I remembered, oh yeah, it always took 15 minutes. So my first reaction was being upset. What did I do? So I was blaming somebody else, right?
Right.
Blaming somebody else. I was upset. I was like, what's going on? I was starting to sweat. I was angry. And then afterwards, like, oh yeah, I just have to wait. Yeah, I forgot that.
But that's how our temper works, right? It's unreasonable. It comes out of nowhere. It shows its ass. And then it's like, that wasn't even necessary.
Exactly. And it is the same thing that I'm waiting for something to happen. For a couple of weeks, and then I was like, why did they not pay me yet? Where is it? Blah, 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 blah. And then I got home and I was like, oh, I need to send out this form first, and then they can, okay, yeah.
Oh, the reason they haven't paid me is because I haven't told them to, or told them how.
Exactly. So then I was again being upset, blaming some other people, and I was like, oh yeah, the ball is in my corner. Yeah, okay, yeah, I have to do something.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is what my last few days were. It is like a roller coaster and crying and being upset. It is, yeah.
Yeah. A lot. That's going on everywhere right now.
Mm.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're not aware of what is going on, at
Mhm.
least in my case, I was like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Mhm.
Why is this
Yeah.
happening? Yeah, and then I ask you, and then you give me an explanation.
Mhm. Ask
Yeah.
me, folks. Don't ask me, folks.
But it helps because I'm sure that there are other people who are going through these kind of things, and I wonder like, well, where is this coming from? Normally I would not panic, you
Right.
know.
Right.
I'm just like all relaxed and say, okay, well, let's see, take our time. Is there something that I missed, you know? But this
Right.
is like full on reaction
Yep.
without thinking,
Yep. I'm
standing
gonna
still.
I'm gonna have some chocolate.
Oh, enjoy. Is it the one that I brought from Switzerland?
I've already eaten that one, but I got one because that one had Switzerland writing on it. This is the
Yeah.
American version. Yep.
Nice.
So
Enjoy, enjoy. Okay, then let's go to the topics that we would like to discuss, suicide and murder. Because last time I mentioned to you that when I was younger, I had like those suicidal thoughts, and you did not have those, right?
right. No, I would have erred more on the side of murdering people as opposed to suicide. Yeah.
Mm. Mm-mm. Yeah, I just want to say that when I was, I have to think, I think around 11, 12, I thought like, you know what? I do everything wrong, apparently. I
Mm,
do everything wrong.
mm,
People are quite harsh. They're not polite. They're lying.
mm-hmm.
They physically or they mentally, you know, are abusing. What am I here for? Is this really life? It was for me just too hard.
Wow.
I just could not comprehend why people were that cold. And they just project everything on you. It's like, bam, here you go. And, you know, as being an empath, it comes to you with a
Yep.
bigger size, you know. So that was also, yeah, that was a short period of time in my life that I actually wanted to leave, and actually seriously thought about the methods.
Mm,
But by even visualizing how that will go, I would say no, that would be too painful. Or like, no, that is not, no, that is too scary. Or no, that is also not going to work out. So all those options for me got less and less and less. That make me upset because I just want to leave without any pain. And even though thinking about it and even thinking about the methods that I could come up with, there was also this very clear feeling of you cannot do that. Or at least I could not do that. It's the same thing when we were talking last time about taking medication. That was for
mhm.
me also very strong feeling of you just do not do any medication. And for me, suicide was the same thing. Just do not kill yourself.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. For me, it was the world was for me just too hard and too cold, and I just could not understand uh, why the people in my environment were not able to be nice,
Hmm.
and that is the reason why I wanted to leave. Because I also did not really see the reason why you would then be here on Earth.
Right.
Do I really need to go to school for such a long time, and then afterwards I need to go to work and then be miserable like everybody else? It's like, what is
Hmm.
the point of this?
Right.
Yeah. How was that with your murder thoughts?
Well, I'm sorry you had that experience. For me, I had also, the abuse, and I had some sexual abuse, three different um, adult men in my experience from the time I was 5 until 13.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was my response, because I'm an Aries and I have a lot of fire in my astrology chart. My response was, of course, being an empath, I I I took on the impression that it was my fault, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also in that, what my warrior would come back as, well, whether it's my fault or not, I'm a child and you're an adult and you should fucking know better, right? And it was that kind of thing, because I internalized a lot of the emotions and the thoughts and the beliefs. But my response to that was always, um, oh yeah, well, here's the mirror, here's your responsibility, here's your part in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of as an adult, even as a spiritual guide, that's the medicine that I bring. That's what I bring in. And I didn't realize as a child that that's what I did too. But my thoughts were, if you're going to be evil and hateful, you just need to leave. You just need to not be here, because we don't need hateful people here on earth, right? And um so it wasn't like I ever dreamed about killing anybody or anything like that. But I would, that saying, "You're dead to me,"
Mm-hmm.
that was true for me. People would just be dead to me. You don't exist, you're dead. Done.
Wow.
Cut you out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And literally they would be dead to me. And I had no remorse about it. I had no attachment to them, because they had done these inappropriate things. They wouldn't take responsibility. They wouldn't be accountable for them. And when I get to the done place, it was done. They're dead to me. Now, I did have a marriage, and once where my ex-husband was mentally and emotionally abusive and physically abusive, and he hit me. And he was a lot bigger than I was, and I know what I'll do. I've had a gun. I've been threatened with a gun before. I know what I will do. In that situation, literally, in that moment, everything went really still and quiet, and everything slowed down. And I was like, okay, this is going to go one of two ways. And it was, okay, everything is still and quiet. What will diffuse the situation? That was the first question. What will diffuse the situation? And then I went into what would diffuse the situation. But if it felt like it was cranking back up again, right, and it wasn't going to be diffused, my next thought was, what am I going to do to save myself and my children?
Mm-hmm.
And I very vividly recall thinking, I'm going to take 2 steps forward. I'm going to grab the barrel of the gun. I'm going to turn it around and take it out of his hands, and I'm going to shoot him 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. I very vividly recall having that actual thought in that slow motion thing. And I was icy still that if I needed to, that was the next thing that was going to happen. And I was not going to feel any remorse for it, because it was the only thing left to do to save me and my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sorry that you had to go through this.
We all go through stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I also know that, there were situations where he would hit me, like he hit me one time. And my response is, I'm going to hit you back. And so, he hit, this was the first time he hit me. And I was so stunned. I mean, literally, he hit me so hard, I went deaf and I couldn't see. And literally, my vision was black and my ears were, there was nothing there. And then I remember getting a little ringing in my ear, right, as this kind of the sound was coming back. And there was kind of some sparkles coming back into my eyes, right? And then, I mean, it took 3-4 solid minutes for me to get my hearing and my vision back. And then when that happened, you know, it was like I was looking at him, he was yelling, right? And of course I didn't hear it because I couldn't hear or see anything. And then my first immediate thought was, you're going to die. And then I tackled him, like literally, like ran at him like a football player and tackled him. And we fell on the ground. And I just remember screaming like a lunatic. I grabbed his collar and I'm on top. I'm sitting on top of him, screaming like a lunatic. You will not hit me. You will not hit me, right? And you know, of course, he's punching at me, and he hits me like in the chin or whatever. And I just reach over and I'm trying to hit him, right? Trying to hit him back and you know, like give back. And as I'm doing that, I just hear myself, I hear my soul saying, this is not what you want to do. And the whole time I'm thinking, I just have to save us. And it's like, don't make me have to be this person, because it's not who I want to be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But I will if you make me. And so I think that was a big thing for me, because I mean, in that moment, I literally was having an out of body experience. At the same time, I was having an in body experience. At the same time, I was having a rage experience. At the same time, I was having a totally lost my shit experience and a totally present experience all at the same time. It was like a fractured experience, and all of them were happening simultaneously. And I was very clear that all of them were happening, and I was present with all of them. It was the strangest thing I've ever experienced. But I'm not afraid of being hurt. I'm not afraid of people, you know, threatening me, because I know what I'll do in that situation. I'm very clear. It's not a fear for me. You know, I'll try to diffuse the situation. If I can't, I will kill you. And I don't feel bad about it, because you're trying to kill me. And that's the way it works, right? That's karma.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting is that's karma. You make a choice to kill somebody else. The consequence of that is you potentially are the one that's killed.
Yeah.
Right? Makes total sense. The laws are even designed that way here. You do have the ability to defend yourself and kill someone in self-defense if that's truly what it was, right? And that's what it would be for me. Now, I'm not a kind of person that would ever hurt anybody else.
Mm.
But if you hurt me first and you make me believe that I'm going to die, then my animal instinct comes out. And that's totally what it is. It's 100% survival instinct.
Yeah.
And I have enough past lives where I've had to be a warrior or a knight or a priestess, or, you know, a burned as a witch, you know, all of these things of where I've had to defend myself, that I will defend myself. It's not even negotiable. It will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting. Once I had that fractured experience in that moment, it changed everything about me. because up until that moment, I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of heights. I was afraid of sickness. I was afraid of diseases or injuries. I was afraid of, my husband being mad at me. I was afraid of talking too much or being judged or all of it. I was afraid of everything. And when I had that split, and I realized in this moment, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be this angry person. I don't want to be this abused person. I don't want to be this rage-filled person. I don't want to be this defensive person. I don't want to be this person. But if you make me, I will. I can. It totally shifted everything about my heart. It was like I settled into my body in that moment. And I don't know that makes any sense. But it was like, now I still had to deal with an abusive husband, and there was a lot of fear around that. But I also knew that if it came to it, I would not be the one wadded up in the corner crying, begging for my life. There's nothing wrong with that. I just knew that wasn't going to be me. If I was going to die, I was going to take him with me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
And and even thinking about it now, it's just like it's a really neutral feeling. And I don't know that makes any sense at all.
You mean like you don't have anger towards him that he has done that, or you don't feel bad that you actually hit him?
Nope.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's just like,
it happened.
Yeah. And then, he hit me a couple times after that, threatened me a lot. And when he would threaten me, my answer would be to charge right up to him and say, do it, I dare you. Because it was like, give me a reason. I'm not going to live afraid anymore. I'm not going to be afraid of everything in my life anymore. If you want to kill me, so I die. I come back again.
Are you already aware at that point that when you're getting killed, there's like a reincarnation? You already were?
I already knew about or believed in reincarnation then, yeah. But I didn't have the kind of conscious awareness of everything that I do now. He and I had multiple lifetimes together. Sometimes he killed me, sometimes I killed him, one time I committed suicide to get away from him. There's all kinds of past life karma that we had together. And the reason we were together this time was because of all of that. And I had to figure out how to get out of the relationship without either of us dying or getting hurt.
Yeah.
And that's why, and I think that's why I had that splintered experience, because it's like I said, I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And in that moment, I changed my karma. In that moment. And it was different ever since.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense at all?
To me, yes, because when you were saying that, when you were telling about the past lives that you had, you killed him, he killed you, you were committed suicide, and there were other things involved, and you were saying like, but this time it was different. You stopped your karmic wheel for both of you.
Yeah.
For not taking any
done
steps. Yeah.
Done.
Well, I want to ask, when he hit you that time where you could not hear and see anymore, were you like in a moment of, like a scared stillness, like it is silent and it is like scary, like what is?
No, I've had that. That was the place, with the gun thing, that scary stillness.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And a lot of times when he would first get mad, it would be that scary stillness. It would be just everybody be still, nobody move. Let's see what's going to happen, right? Like, but that was different. This time, literally, he hit me so hard I'm sure I had a concussion,
Mm-hmm.
but my ears and my eyes completely went offline. And it wasn't the only time he hit me that hard. I mean, there were dozens of times he hit me that hard, but this was the one time that I had that experience. And then after that point, he didn't hit me anymore. After that, he threatened to hit me after that, but he didn't. And it was just, and I don't know, and it's interesting because I had no idea what his experience was during all that time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was almost as if I was unconscious, but I wasn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't hear anything and I couldn't see anything and I couldn't do anything. I mean, I was just sitting there. It was as if I left my body. It's like it was almost like he slapped me out of my body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back in. It was kind of like that feeling, because literally everything was just kind of blank. And then when I came back in, it was like, what the fuck did you just do? You're going to die. And then, of course, it was the rage and, the whole thing I've already explained. But it was probably a concussion,
Yeah.
to be honest. That's probably what it was.
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
Did you? Oh, you didn't go to the doctors afterwards?
Mm-mm.
Mm.
No.
Did you file like a police report?
Not that time, but later, when I was trying to leave, I called the police. I dialed 911, called the police, gave them my address, told them where we are, what was going on. The police got there, and me and my kids were in the car, and on the 911 call, they could hear the kids screaming in the car.
Mm.
And I was, trying to be really super calm. And when the police pulled up, he is on the hood of my car, bashing his fist into the windshield, trying to get to us. I mean, just hitting as hard as he can, screaming and cussing, right? And the police get there, and they get him off the car, and they put him in the back of their thing. And I said, I want him arrested. I want to press charges. I don't want any of this to happen anymore. And they said, okay. 2 hours later, he was back home.
Okay.
They didn't call me. They didn't do anything. They just sent him home. And he was so drunk, I had to take him to the hospital to detox, because it was the only detox place they had. And we had to stay in the emergency room for 12 hours with him getting fluids, so that he could get less drunk enough so that they can admit him to detox. He was 3 times the legal limit.
How would you survive that in the first place?
He drank a lot. And I told him at the hospital, look, I want to press charges. Like, there's nothing we can do. Fine. I'm going to have to figure this out on my own.
Yeah.
And then that's really when I started trying to figure out, how am I going to do this on my own? Nobody's going to help me.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. I have nothing to say on when you said like the police sent him back home after 2 hours.
Yep. I was like, he took a cab home. It's like, why are you here? What are you doing here? And he was like, oh, well, the neighbors called the cops on me. That was a silly thing. Let's not worry. Like, he completely had no recall of what had happened. None. And so it was like, okay, I had to play it off that was what had happened. What he thought happened. Okay, yeah. All right, well, let's go get you detoxed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you think that he was so blurred with anger that he just did not know what he was doing?
he was so blurred with alcohol,
Mm.
he didn't know what he was doing. And the out when he was he was an angry drunk. Like when I drink alcohol, I make friends with everybody.
Yeah, I'm smiling the entire time.
When he would drink, he got angry, like
Mm.
mean, hateful. Yeah.
Wow. That must
Mhm.
be scary.
It was really scary, and especially when it just happened. When it happened the first time,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, holy crap, what just happened? It was like something completely switched in his brain.
Yeah.
And it was strange. But the poor thing, he's died now. So
Mm.
he's on the other side, hopefully figuring out how he's gonna resolve his own karma.
Yeah.
You know, And when I think about him now, I just send him love because he was a tortured soul.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very tortured soul, and I'm not going to have any more lifetimes with him, so I don't know who's going to help him.
Yeah, yeah.
God bless.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
I'm happy that you're still here.
me too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being this open and be very personal.
You're welcome. Hopefully, it'll help somebody.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, that is also why we're doing these videos to make
Hmm.
this open, you know,
Yeah. I mean,
to discuss
life
it.
is life.
Mm.
Terrible things happen, but in those terrible things, we find out who we are.
Yes.
You know, and
Yeah.
we decide who we are. Like in that splintered moment, I decided I'm not going to be this person anymore.
Mm.
And I haven't been. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I cannot even imagine you actually hammering somebody's face.
Well, I didn't actually get to connect with him because he balled up like this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was on the floor like this, and I'm trying to hit him and I couldn't hit him. And it was like,
You were like, remove your hands.
you will not hit me anymore.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Wow. I think it is also very difficult when you have children because you're not even you're not trying to survive for yourself, but also for your children.
Hmm. Yeah. And I used to be so gullible, and I still am sometimes. But it was like there were things that he would do that never occurred to me that people would do.
What do you mean?
Like he wanted to yell at my son, and I was telling him he was not going to yell at my son over this particular thing, that he was overreacting and all of that stuff. He shoved me out the front door and locked the door, and then went in my son's bedroom to talk to him. I was horrified. I've never felt such fear in my whole life. So I ran around the house and pressed my ear against my son's window, and I picked up a rock and I was listening. And if it was going to get ugly, I was going to break the window and climb in through the window.
Hmm.
But it didn't. He tended to be more dramatic if I was present for whatever reason. But if it was just him and the kids, he would be bossy with them and he would be strict with them, but he wouldn't be abusive.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
and so it was about 7 years of total terror for me.
That's a long time.
A long time. Yeah.
Hmm. So when you said like he was more bossy to your children, but he had a different attitude when you were at home, do you think that even only your presence alone in a home would trigger something within to be
I
more
think it was
aggressive?
their karma. Yeah, I think it was all that past life karma. It was toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just total there's not even another word for it. It was just completely toxic. But it didn't start out that way. It started out with rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah.
you know? And the first
Mm-mm.
few years it was rainbows and sunshine. And then his grandma died and something switched in his head and it just went to hell after that.
Mm-mm. Wow. I cannot imagine.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was a living hell.
Mm-mm.
I tried to protect my kids from most of it. They just knew, he was a, you know, grumpy, terrible person,
Yeah.
angry, bossy, restrictive person who was an alcoholic. Um, but they didn't know the fear that I felt because I didn't let them know. I was always strong when I was around them.
Mm-mm. Oh, bless them.
Yeah. But I didn't sleep for the last 3 years I was there. I mean, literally, I didn't sleep at all
Yeah.
because I was terrified of what he would do while I was sleeping.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What, did you not sleep in a different room?
No, we slept. No, hell no. I needed to know what he was doing.
Oh, okay. So you were like keeping an eye on him to see what his next move would be.
Yeah. And most of the time when he drank, he would drink and stay up all night, which
Mm.
I had to stay up all night, and then take the kids to school, and then work full time, and then deal with him.
Wow, you must have been exhausted.
I was, but I was also younger and about 100 pounds lighter, and and I smoked cigarettes all the time. So
Mm.
smoked cigarettes and drank Coca-Cola. That was my life. So caffeine and nicotine kept me alive for 3 years.
Wow.
Hmm.
Mm. Are you aware that when you were together with him, that you knew other people who would be in the same situation with like an abusive partner?
Mm-mm. No, we were. It got down to where it was there was nobody else in our life but him.
Mm.
Like he ran everybody off.
Because I was when I had those thoughts of wanting to leave this earth plane, I was thinking about the people around me, and I actually noticed that I had a lot of people. At least I know a few people who either wanted to commit suicide or actually did it. And it actually started with one of my neighbors. He was a single man. think he I think he might have been mid-50s. He looked like 80 because he was smoking, he was drinking, he was losing his teeth, and we always found needles in our garden. So my
Mhm.
parents always said, "Do not ever touch those needles." And I asked them, like, "What are those needles for?" "Oh yeah, the neighbor has diabetes, you know." And then I think one day my mom was honest, and or maybe even she was too busy that she did not realize that she said that he was actually using heroin. So he was also using.
Mhm.
And I think there was a time that he stopped using, or at least he was not injecting himself with heroin. He started to drink. And I have seen him a couple of times standing outside peeing his pants. He was literally peeing outside.
Mm.
And he would get into the car and drive off.
Wow.
And sometimes my father was in time to actually go outside and say, "What are you thinking where you're going to?" Or he would come back after an hour or so. He would park the car, and then my father would go outside and say, "Where have you been? Do you think it's a good idea to drive around when you drank so much?" But apparently he did that because he was just hoping that he would drive into a tree. He
Mm.
wanted to commit suicide, and that's why he drank so much and get behind the wheel and was just hoping that there will be a moment that he would either drive off the road or he would hit a tree or whatever. And every single time when he got home, he was just disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been, I think when I was 10, maybe. I was 10, and there was a mother, one of the classmates, who wanted to commit suicide, but she survived. And that was although I had this neighbor, her mother was for me the very first time that I actually got conscious of people wanting to commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been like more and more people, who wanted to leave. There has been like former colleagues. It was my first experience when I was 19. Was my first experience of a person who wanted, or who actually killed herself. She did not survive. She hung herself. And her behavior in the office, I have to say, she was a lawyer. And she looked, she was a pretty lady, young, maybe like mid-30s, super smart. But her attitude towards male colleagues sometimes was a little bit off. So people were complaining. I was working for like the top level of that company, and they were complaining about her behavior, but did not know what to do. And one day, somebody said she will not come to the office because she hung herself. And then we learned that the way how she grew up was that she was always being compared to her brother. She was a lawyer, but her brother was a surgeon. So her parents were always saying, look at your brother, he has a marvelous career. Look at your brother, he makes more money than you. Look at your brother. So she was always being compared to somebody else. And I had more the feeling like, because of this comparison, even though maybe the parents did that as wanting to be like motivating, or I don't know, a way of motivating that you want to compare your child to somebody else, it can have a huge impact on somebody's life, like hers, because she actually hung herself.
Mm-hmm.
Because she never felt being accepted. She was not good enough. So this is like, compare yourself or being compared to somebody else is for me like, an absolute no-go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm sorry she had that experience.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people do. And some people take it and bury those emotions and lash out at people. And some people do their shadow work and try to get over it. And some people just leave.
Yeah. Yeah. There was actually even a family member. It was, I think I was maybe 16. Was I maybe like 16? There was a family member who killed himself. And the reason for him was because he felt that he was not good enough. So he had those, thoughts about himself, never being good enough. And that was for him a reason to go.
Yeah, I had a favorite cousin who did that too. But he was an adult, but it was the same thing. He hung himself because he didn't think he was good enough.
Yeah.
He was married with children.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. All of it's tragic.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hear a lot about when people are committing suicide, it's like the easy way out. But we never know how the person actually felt when they were doing it, what the reasons were, because these are all different kind of reasons why people are doing it.
Right.
And for them, it is valid.
Right.
because for them there was no other way out, because they were, it is not that they were happy people and say like, okay, one day let me
Right.
let me do this. There's a whole thing behind it. They have been maybe like dragging around, is what you're saying,
Hmm.
those feelings about themselves, that they made them
Yeah.
do it.
Well, and it is. It's like it's like it's the only option left.
Mm.
You know, and it's in Zed. I did a channeling on suicide a couple months ago, and
Yeah.
Zed talked about that. And their big thing about it was they wanted people to understand that people who committed suicide didn't go to hell.
Mm.
That there is no hell.
Mhm.
Earth is hell.
Exactly, we're already in it.
Yeah. And that it's just the person is disconnected. They're disconnected from themselves. They're disconnected from their heart. They're disconnected from God, from source, from the universe, from love.
Um,
And that is what it is they're disconnected. They're separated from their own divinity, and they're separated from their own power.
mm-mm.
And that the way to help that is for them to connect to their higher self, to connect to source, or their higher power, and to learn how they can take charge of their experience.
Mm-mm.
Because
Wow.
almost all suicide comes from a feeling of being a victim and being powerless.
Mm.
Very few people do it as an act of power, but some do. Some do use it as an act of power.
What do you mean as an act of power? As in, like, I will show you what I can do, like in that kind of sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To punish someone else.
Mm.
Yeah. That does happen too. And all that does is create more karma. So next time they're in a body, they got to deal with the karma they created about that.
Yeah.
So we don't suggest it. you're
No.
just creating, you're just creating misery again.
Mm.
You think you're miserable now? Well, if you don't resolve it, you're going to have to come back and do it again.
Yeah, but I think that is also a point that a lot of people are not aware of, because I think that suicide has been seen as like a sin. It is something, I'm not religious, but that is um,
Hmm.
religious. But this is what I keep hearing. It is like a sin. You should not do it. You will go to hell, and it is an easy way out. Thinking that that will be the solution to your problems, without being aware actually that the problems will not go away. You will just get them back again in the next life.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
And you gotta keep doing it. We gotta keep doing our karma until we complete it, till we resolve it, till we mm, work through it, right? Till it's done. And most of the time, 99% of the time in my work, I found the completion of it is making the decision. Like in that moment, that split moment where I made the decision, I don't want to be this person anymore.
Yeah.
And it completed the karmic cycle, because then I took action of not being that person anymore.
Mm-mm.
And that's what it takes.
Yeah. Mm. There has also been, I think the last thing that I'm going to say on this topic is that I also know, besides for this young lawyer who committed suicide, I know two other people. They were actually quite high on the ladder, like on the executive level, that committed suicide. And I always wondered, like, why would you do that when you're on the top level of a company? And I had a discussion last time about somebody who knew one of those people, and I said like, um, they did not. He did not know that I was actually wondering about it. But he said, I can imagine that it would be very tough when you are very up high and somebody else, like board, is deciding that you will need to step down. He said you lose everything. You lose the privileges that you have. You lose the access to anything that you think is important. And there's a lot of how to say this, like there's a lot of things in our world that we look up to, as in, oh, you have so much, as material, that you actually put value on it, and people are putting like a value on themselves by having this kind of thing. So one day when that will be gone, I can imagine that for those people it is like, I'm useless, I am a nobody anymore.
Right. They lose their identity.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it is very hard for, for the outsiders to understand why a person have done it. And it is also actually not really important for us to understand why a person has done it. But I just want to say, with giving these kind of examples, there are different reasons for every single person who has done it.
Mm-hmm.
Just creating the awareness, or like the understanding of why a person would do it, and it's for every single person is the same thing, or something different, I mean.
Yeah, it is different. It's going to be as different as there are people who do it.
Yeah.
But also they could make a different choice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we encourage.
Yes.
Making a different choice.
Yeah.
Like you did.
Yeah.
You went through all the options and you're like, nope, 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 nope. I guess I gotta stay.
Exactly. I was like, no, that sounds painful. No, that takes too long. What if somebody finds me in the meantime and I'm going to do it? So these are all things, that I was actually like analyzing the options. Mm-hmm. And I was crossing them out one by one by one. And I was like, well, there's nothing left. So then I'm going to stay. Yeah, and that... I think I developed the anger at a later stage, when you were saying like I had wanted to murder my partner at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the anger came later, you said?
Mm-hmm. Anger towards the people in my environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but indeed what you're saying, like I made a different choice.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm happy you stayed.
Yeah. Me too. It is like it is when we're moving to the fourth dimension, there is, I hope that people are getting more conscious that there is a choice that we can make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it is, not saying like, okay, now I'm stuck, there's only one way out, let me do this or that.
No, there's always light. There's always light. You just have to move toward it.
Yeah. It is super difficult. I used the word super a lot actually in this conversation. But anyway, it is it is not always easy, to move out from a dark place into finding the light.
Right. No, I agree. But nobody can make that choice for you. Nobody can move you from the darkness to the light. You have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to take those steps. Now, people can help you, but they're not going to do the mental and emotional discipline for you. You've got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you got to decide.
Mm-hmm.
And then take action and follow through and keep going and know that you're worth it. and that you're valuable and that you're important. And if you don't do it this time, you're going to have to do it next time. So you might as well do it now.
Yeah. Yes. And then we are coming out of this entire dark phase.
Mm-hmm.
And you, or at least when I speak out of my experience, you learn so much.
Yeah.
And that is for me actually already worth it. You know, when you're in it, it is difficult, it is painful, it is not nice, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. You know, you're going in those circulation of the same thoughts. But at the end, it's so much worth it. And then when I sometimes look back at the situations that I went through, I was like, "Whoa, actually, it was not so bad."
Mm-hmm.
Because
well,
you're
same for me. Because I
Mm.
look back at it now and like, you know, I list different things that happened to me. But when I look back now, like, I'm so neutral about all of it. I don't have any attachment to the sexual abuse or attachment to the physical and mental abuse with the ex-husband. Those are things that happened, but I'm not triggered by them. I don't have, I feel sad sometimes because I didn't know enough back then to prevent it or to shorten the time, right? Or that, you know, he couldn't find his own peace, right? But it's done. And I don't feel like I've had a miserable life, believe it or not. I feel like I mean, you know, my life is good.
Yeah.
And just exactly like you said, when you look back on it from a distance, once you're healed, it was just a thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to plague you for the rest of your life once you're done with it.
Mm-mm.
That's also a powerful message you need to know if you're going through stuff right now. It will end, and once you're done with it, it's done. And you don't have to deal with it anymore.
No.
Yay.
Yay! Perfect ending. You know, there's something else that just came up. Like when you will be like in a dark phase and you come out of it and you are in the light, when you are looking back at it as well, it is for me, yeah, it was not only like, well, that was actually not so bad. Looking back on it, it was well, okay-ish. But also when I got out of certain things, because it looked as if it was not that bad, it is almost like it also not really happened. I mean, if it would take years to be in a dark place and you come out of it and you would be like in, you know, feeling comfortable with yourself and you know what you're doing and you know what you want to achieve. So when you're coming out of it, when you're in that place, you are like, I've always been there. Those 7 years or those 6 years of darkness do not feel anymore as 6, 7 years. It was
Right.
something like this.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it did not feel to me as in, oh, I wasted so much of my life of being in a dark place. Because now I'm like, well, that was like in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. And it's done, and I don't ever have to do that again in any of my lifetimes.
Yes!
Yay!
Victory!
I'm the one that decided to stop that. Yay!
Woo-hoo! Yes. And you're never, ever alone.
Right. Ever.
Ever.
There are people to help you. There are beings of lights to help you. There are angels that help you. There are guides that help you. You have multiple layers of guide teams. You have these white lights and blue lights, literally, that are beings of consciousness that come and take your messages out to the universe. And there are people who are around you every day who you may not even know, who is on the subway with you, or is on the bus with you, or is a teacher at your school, or is on a television show somewhere, or on a YouTube channel like us, who are always praying for you.
Mm-mm.
And what we pray for is that you find, or what I pray for, is that you find the light that is inside you, and that you allow it to blossom and bloom, because that's who you are. All the rest of this stuff is not you. It's a distraction from you. It is a way to keep you blindfolded so that you don't see who you are, and you are the light. Period. All the rest is bullshit.
Thank you.
You
Do you want to say anything else? You want to
wrap up? Okay. So if you want to reach Cindy, you can check out her website at channelingcarla.com, and you can send her an email at info@channelingcarla.com. And if you want to contact me, you can check out my website at yourownsoul.com. And you can send me an email at info@yourownsoul.com. And also you can post comments down below on the YouTube page, or post in the comments on our Facebook page. And please share this out. Subscribe to our channels, like our pages, follow our pages, and share this with anybody that you think could benefit, because it is our intention to make all of the shadows be brought to light, so that everything can be talked about. There is no taboos, and that all of us are allowed to be human, but also live an empowered and wonderful life. We love you. Take care. Be blessed.
Bye.
And we will see you next time.
See you next time.